Hi, and welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. Today it's just going to be me and our guest, Haunted with Hodges. Is that right? Hauntings with Hodges, excuse me. And I haven't been on in a while. I'm sorry, guys. Things have been really crazy. I'm getting over pneumonia, so I sound like crap. fair, fair warning. But that's also why I haven't had any episodes lately, is because I've been sick. But I mean, I can't stay out. I can't stay gone forever. I've got too many people going, hey, where the hell did you go? So, can I call you Hodges? Is that
Yeah, that's fine.
prefer to be called?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's cool.
So Hodges here. Why don't you give us a little bit of about you, some of your background maybe, and where you're located, where we're seeing you from.
All right. So I'll start, I guess, by my location. Maryland, East Coast of the U.S.
East Coast as well. I'm Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow, neighbors.
Yeah.
There's some spots, some. It's kind of hard to find locations to go to, points of interest.
Expeditions.
What's up, Brian? Background. I mean, I've always, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I've been when I started YouTube, I had no foresight of doing paranormal stuff. It actually just kind of happened. I was originally going to be filming
Funny as it sounds, that's kind of how it just kind of happens for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You just kind of fall into it.
Yeah, but I started off just kind of wanting to be film outdoors, film anything I do. Didn't really matter, anything went. But
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I actually did. Sounds funny saying this. People don't expect this from me, but I kind of did parkour.
Really?
Do you know what that is? Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's pretty awesome.
I have. What's up, Kwasi? I have one.
Is it KC Hobbies?
What is it? I lost my train of thought real quick. I have one video actually on the channel that is me doing parkour.
You're gonna have to send me the link to that because I want to see that. That sounds awesome.
I will. It was people watching out. They're like, "What? Why would you? That ain't you. That's not you."
Well, people look at parkour thinking, "Oh, it's just a bunch of craziness," but no, it's like skill. It takes a lot of skill.
It's a lot of skill, a lot of prep time, a lot of just mental challenges too. It's not about just sending yourself into whatever you're doing. But
gotcha. Okay, so you kind of fell into YouTubing, starting with parkour.
Yep.
And then you moved into the paranormal. What made you go, I want to videotape ghosts?
So I did always believe in the paranormal.
That's pretty awesome.
I didn't go into it. Yeah, he's my best friend actually. Told him to come on over. I've always believed in the paranormal, but one night I was just let's go to this local haunted bridge. I was just gonna film it as a here's what I'm doing tonight type video, where anything goes. And we went, and it was spooky. It had its atmosphere, its vibes. I didn't have a lot of gear at the time. I think I just had if I recall, a little voice recorder and just the
EVP recorders.
Yeah. And then it sounds far-fetched when I tell people this, unless they are already into the paranormal and they know these experiences. But we had it was off camera, so that's what makes it a little bit more that's why I don't really share it. But we had what sounded like a car approach us, and then the tires screeched like someone hit on their brakes, and then we just heard this woman scream, and it echoed and surrounded the woods, and then it all just fell silent, and we were all just sitting on the bridge, what just happened? And in my mind, I didn't catch it on camera. Crap, no one's gonna believe that. And so then I did that one, and I was like, this was so cool. I'm gonna do it again. Then I went to another supposed haunted bridge in Delaware, the Maggie's Bridge, the one that like CJ, Phasian, and them have been to. And one thing just led snowball effect, and now it's like the main focal point of my channel.
Expedition says that was creepy as hell. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
he was there for it.
when it comes to the paranormal, I always start by really introducing it to the show for people who, well, what's that? Or I don't believe in that. Well, neither did I once upon a time. Nobody's born believing it. Usually it's something that they catch on to or they witness or they come to believe through some form of experience. Um, Personally, my experiences, I grew up with them. I grew up in a really nasty part of town in a very seriously screwed up building where shootings happened quite frequently. So, as you can imagine, it definitely had its own personality.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and unless you've had an experience or saw proof of it, you don't really become a believer by being born
yeah.
that way. As to where in my field, what I cover is more than just the paranormal. I cover UAPs, I cover cryptids, and I cover the paranormal, and I believe in all of them. I do. So, but then again, it's something that I've had enough uh, interesting experiences with uh, to be able to talk about it. Again, sorry for the coughing, guys. So, what would be if you had to sum up your paranormal career thus far? What would be your most terrifying haunt and why? What happened that made that so uh, skin crawlingly terrifying?
I have kind of. I'll say I'll let Fairfield and County Infirmary be the winner on this one. I went to Fairfield. That's in I think Lancaster, Ohio, somewhere in Ohio, and we had we had 2 nights there, and the second night it was just it got worse. It literally got worse the second night in. The first night was more like suspenseful and like kind of like eerie. The second night it was like it almost felt like I was going to be like bum rushed up the stairwell. That's because we were in the top section of the building. They call it the dungeon, which kind of sounds backwards. You usually think the dungeon's like the bottom, but the one guy I was with, he was doing the Estes session or Estes method. He was sitting there. We had him chained to a wheelchair, and he was like looking down at the headphones on all that stuff. And then this one stairwell that goes up into the like overlook tower that the what is he superintendent used to be able to like see out of to see the property.
Mhm.
I saw this giant like opaque black like mass kind of come out of the one wing that was in the dungeon,
Oh wow!
and it literally went and it just flew past that little stairwell leading up and dipped around the corner, and I saw it and I like kind of was like, all right, that's like definitive, like that is something, the most intense angry feeling I've gotten, like that is actually something that wants us out. Never felt that before. I kind of freaked my girlfriend out because she was with us and she started like because she was already on edge, and then she started like kind of crying. Then we got him out of the Estes, and we just kind of wrapped it up from there. But that was the only true moment I felt like I was actually like in danger, kind of.
Now, by in danger, people tend to confuse a negative entity from a demonic entity. Um, the negative entities don't really pose a real threat.
Yeah,
Demonic entities, on the other hand, they want you to be fearful. They want to cause damage and to cause pain because they feed off of that. Would you have described what you felt as maybe a demonic entity, or do you think it was just more negative in nature?
I think it was just more negative. I think it was just the legend or what should be it. I think it might have been, if he's still there, if it was him, whoever it was, the superintendent, because he was known to be more on the meaner side. You know, he was the authority figure, so he wanted to keep that standing. I guess even in death, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a tall man, and this was a tall mass, and it was intimidating. It was like it made me feel like I needed to leave. It was like you need to just go. I don't think it was like demonic, but it was definitely negative. It was a mean presence. Just makes me kind of.
Okay, so with that being said, have you had any kind of interactions with darker demonic entities? If so, where was this, and what kind of effect did it have?
So this is kind of a tricky one, but we were at the I was at the Bel Air house, and up in the attic, or no, in the basement first. I was doing an Estes. I was sitting there blindfolded, and we started getting. It's like the one place I was actually getting like the word like demon and stuff in the spirit box, and there is supposedly portals there, demonic presences, which so I mean that adds up. But it wasn't like a like harmful towards me thing. It was them speaking through me about harming the guy that was asking the questions. I don't really recall it unless until he showed me, like when he plays, because he still has the video footage. When he plays it back, I don't really remember saying any of that stuff. And when we were
Wow.
done,
Okay,
I had
so
this.
would you say that maybe that was like a lapse in time for you, or lapse in like you don't remember it? And the only thing I can think of, well, the only phenomenon I can think of is time lapsing. Uh,
I don't know.
anything maybe that you have experienced?
It was close to an hour long too, and I don't remember like I don't even remember the beginning of it now. I just remember finishing the session and having like this surge of energy,
Oh wow,
which is
that's
very
pretty frightening.
strange because it was later into our investigation. So obviously you'd think you'd be more tired, but no, I was like woken up.
See,
That was
and
probably the weirdest point.
some of the best tools as paranormal investigators that we have is our body, our ears, our body, um, because you can't record what you feel in that time.
Yeah,
You can tell people about it, you can try to describe it, but you can't record it. It's the one tool that we as investigators have that we really can't even share the way that you can video or footage that's caught with EVP recorders or obelisks or SP7 or 11, depending on which one you like. I like the SP7 personally, but
that's what I use. I got it right here on my desk.
yeah,
That's my
exactly.
go-to.
I think they're better than the SP11, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but if you had to really describe, besides your body, because I just said that's my, that's the ultimate tool.
Yeah,
What other tool? And I don't call it equipment, I call it tools, because just like a scientist has their beakers, we have our tools. What would be your favorite one to use, and why? Why is it your favorite?
well, from what I have, uh, mine would kind of have to be, I think, the SB7 Spirit Box. Some people just say, like you're just hearing the radio frequency, you're just hearing what they're saying. There is
That's not
way too
true.
much s- stuff that
They're too
I've
much
heard.
static.
Yeah, and with it going as fast as it does, for me to hear whole sentences, that's not
It's
a
impossible.
single
Yeah,
radio.
it's impossible,
That's not a
especially if
that's not
it's
a
in the
host.
same voice over multiple
Yeah,
speakers. Those are the ones that I really, really like. Like if there's, 5 or 6 words in the same voice over multiple sweeps and it's intelligently answering you, Those are my favorite kinds of evidence because it's really, really hard to debunk it.
Yeah, that it would be definitely auditory things like the SB7, and then obviously if I can like manage to capture like a grade A EVP, that's like to me definitive like proof. That's some of the best stuff.
Sorry, my kid. One second.
All good.
Daughter is arguing with me. Okay, so now that we've established your favorite piece of equipment, what would be the best spirit box session you've had? And what were the answers to you? Intelligent? Were they residual? Were they, just kind of caught in time? What's your favorite and why? Hi, Jordan. Welcome.
What's up, Jordan? Uh, I got like three things that might be tied, kind of for spirit box responses, which is why that's why I love it because it's like wherever I go, whatever's being said makes sense with the time frame and the place I'm at. It all ties in. There's no coincidence behind it. Um, so we were at this abandoned. I say abandoned because like no one takes care of it anymore, but this graveyard out in the middle of the forest, and we asked. I believe we asked like, what was your relation to Annie? And Annie was the name of one of the headstones. And then right after we said that,
Really?
the SB7 responded back with the name Annie, and then proceeded to list like almost all the rest of the graves because it was like a tiny like family plot, and it was like back to back, just bang, bam, bam, bam. So that was crazy. That's undeniable. I've heard what sounded like bullets whizzing by us through the spirit box at Gettysburg, which is sounds funny, but we were getting noises, not voices, but just those noises that like wisp. And then probably my top one is we went to Selma Mansion, and I was asking out loud, like, are any of the former residents here? I can't see you. I was introducing myself. We sit down on the couch. I turn on the SB7. I ask if Ruth or Joseph is still here. And this elderly woman, who I believe to be Ruth, comes through and asks, am I invisible? Clear as day.
Oh,
And
wow. That's a good one.
yeah, I just was impressed. It was intelligent. And I was just like
I was going to say that sounds definitely
taken
like a
back.
very intelligent entity.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as far as entities are concerned, have you ever had any experiences with full-bodied apparitions? Those are my favorites as far as sight-wise. When you can catch them in a picture, catch a shadow figure in a picture, or I don't know if you watch Ghost Adventures, but where they have the mist hands that come up and you can make out that they're hands.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite captures, physically, like visually. Have you
I
had
honestly I
visual?
wish I did, but I really haven't. I've seen this could have just been my eyes playing tricks on me, but I thought I saw like a head and like a shoulder kind of peeking around the side of a hallway at Penhurst,
Hmm.
way down the
I'm
hall
so
because I
jealous
thought
because I live next to Penhurst and I still haven't been.
it's
It's not
don't go when it
easy to get
snows.
in.
Don't go when it snows because you will regret everything. Well, I don't regret it, but it was a hassle getting out of there and getting to there. But yeah, I haven't really seen what I would deem a full body apparition personally with my own eyes.
Now, have you had any visual evidence orbs, lights, things of that nature?
Funny enough, I've seen these like balls of light darting through the woods when I was younger. I was just standing out in my buddy's like back or front yard, and I was looking in the woods, and I just see like these two of them just like zigzagging through the trees.
Oh,
No,
wow.
it was not an ATV, not a dirt
So
bike, because there was no
wasn't like a light from a vehicle or anything like
no,
that.
no. And the way they were moving through the trees without any with no effort. It was just these two balls of light, and it's actually a place I want to go back to and go in those woods. I plan on doing that soon. But in terms of other like orbs, I think I've only captured one, what I would say authentic orb, and that was in our hotel room in Gettysburg.
You know, I love Pennsylvania because it is so rich when it
Yes,
comes to history. It is just, it's flowing with it. And
it's yeah,
Expedition says Penhurst was epic, and that was a crazy session. um, but when you live here, you kind of take it for granted because you're like,
right.
oh, I can do that anytime. Well, that's kind of been my issue, I guess, living here. Um, I know there's like 10 billion places I could go. I think I've been to like two. So you take it for granted a little bit. But
Yeah, the
you have a favorite place so far in Pennsylvania. What would it be?
NPA.
Yeah,
Mm,
for investigation.
probably.
I should say.
I might even say that I like Gettysburg more than Penhurst, just because it's so vast and like there's a bunch of places you can go to. It's good for sightseeing, pictures, going out and just trying to get evidence. And then people that don't even believe in the paranormal, they'll go to Gettysburg for like a family vacation, and they're the ones that are recording on their phone an apparition walking across the street, like on a post, like
Oh
patrolling or
wow!
something. So it's like, yeah, I think Gettysburg is like one of the best places in PA, and it's all like free, except for like you got the
Well, I
establishments
was
like the
gonna
Jenny White
say during the day it is. At night it's a different story. They want an arm
House.
and a leg from you to do the night stuff
Yeah,
because they know they can.
yep,
And that's basically it. A lot of places that do tours. I mean, I love you guys. I do. But y'all suck when it comes to pricing because you guys, you get your money's worth out of it. That's for sure. And you get like almost no time. Like for what you want
yeah,
to do, you could set up for 24 hours worth of video footage and only be allowed to get like 10. Like, well, that's awesome. Tell your brother. Um, Now with Pennsylvania, Gettysburg being your favorite, is there any place there that you haven't explored yet that you want to?
like in Gettysburg or PA.
Sorry, yelling at my children.
Okay.
I have
Is
three
there
of them, so but I'm like muting myself so I can yell at children, and then unmuting myself so I can talk. Which, by the way, if you're a child and your parent is sick and they sound like me because of you.
yeah.
Okay, so with Gettysburg, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought with this mess. Um,
Okay.
with Gettysburg being so rich in history and with it having a lot of emotion filled hauntings, and that's a lot of the hauntings is emotion filled. Um, have you ever had any strange feelings of almost like you were there, or you can feel the atmosphere of a place in Gettysburg, where you can almost feel the history?
For me, this was weird. I didn't talk about it too much in my when I filmed there, but Devil's Den was probably where I felt the most like in the moment because I was like, there were literally dozens, hundreds of men dropping dead right where I'm at, like right there, right in the soil. There's no sugarcoating it, and it kind of just makes you think like, who could still be here? Like it just seems I was like looking out in the tree line to see if I could see like them marching through the woods. And that place had me very observant and very in the moment.
Yeah, I think I felt that way with the Jenny Wade house. Like in the moment, you can kind of feel the depressive feeling in the Jenny Wade house, and just kind of like the sadness was really overwhelming when I went. And I did the day tour. Normally, people go, "Oh, well, do you only catch things at night?" No, you can catch them anytime.
Yep.
Night's just the easiest way to eliminate light interference. That's why we do it at night.
Yeah.
Um, but this was a day tour during last summer, and I've been in the house for maybe 5 minutes. We started going up the stairs, and did you take the Jenny Wade tour by any chance?
I actually have not.
Oh, you got
I've seen video on the place,
okay. Well,
but I
you've got to. It's probably the most unique experience because the wall where they had knocked down the wall to get her out of the building into the adjoining apartments or building. That wall's still just like it was the day that they pulled it out. They've got clothes from that era, her actual clothing on her actual bed, and her actual kitchen
jeez.
stuff, and like everything is the way it was when she died. So when you walk in there, it feels like it's in that time period. And then you can feel this overwhelming and kind of heavy sadness
Mm.
from the death itself.
It's always the best when places captivate that era that it was in
Mm,
to the best of their ability. I know renovations have to be done and upkeep, but
right, exactly. Well, just to be able to keep the building standing, they have
yeah,
to. But I mean, when they can keep everything in the home as close to that period, if not actual items from that time, it makes it perfect trigger objects.
oh
They,
yeah.
um, now, for you, I'm going to ask, now that we're on to the subject of trigger objects, what investigations have you used trigger objects in, and were they effective?
So trigger objects. I I've tried to use. I haven't really used a whole lot of trigger objects. I brought in like toys as like potential offerings. I've had I've used handcuffs at a jail, which is what that is. They already had handcuffs there, but I haven't got anything directly. I think because I used a trigger object, not yet. I definitely know it works. Definitely.
I think the only experience I've had with trigger objects myself was at the Jenny Wade house, and that's because it's full of them. Everywhere you turn,
Yeah,
there's something.
that's something she had.
um, now everybody has a bucket list. Mine's like a mile wide and about 10 miles long. So I know it's going to be really interesting and hard question to ask, but if you had the chance and the money and the time and the ability to, what 5 places would be at the top of your bucket list and why?
Shoot, 5 of them.
I used
Five.
to only ask for the top 2, so
Well, I have my top. I have my top two. Maybe not top two, but just two of the five. Um, I always say this because it comes to mind immediately. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like the way the place looks. But the SK Pierce Mansion. I want to give that place a shot. The Conjuring House, just because
ooh,
it's a Conjuring House. I've seen. I don't think it's over the top, but it is. It just looks like a cool, creepy farmhouse with lots of history. What else? Oh God.
there's so many.
Um, there is so many.
Though I know, I'll tell you my top 2. The Velisca
Okay.
X Murder House is a
Cool.
must. The second one would be the Izzy Borden House for me. Then the Winchester Mystery House because they've captured so much really cool shit on video. I have to be there for one. one good one. Bobby Mackey's, because and then the Ancient Ramen. Those are my top 5.
I've heard that ancient ramen come up a lot. I think I watched a video or two on that place.
Probably there's a lot of people that have either recorded themselves or Ghost Adventures has done it. So is Destination Fear, I think, is starting their stuff in Europe this year. So a lot of places have, but they always seem to come out with a lot of evidence. So that would be, I think, a jackpot spot to go to.
Yeah,
So you got
for
your top
sure.
2. So
I
now
got
you need
2.
3 more good ones.
So, I'm not trying to take one of yours, but Velisca is up there. I actually have some buddies that have gotten some of the most, like, they said that was the spot that freaked them out the most, was Velisca.
Oh,
So,
the people that used to live there, that they're still alive, that lived there after the Velisca X murders, and their sisters, and they won't even go in the home. They refuse to. They grew up there and they refuse to have anything to do with that house.
yeah, that says something right there. Like childhood home, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to touch it.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
one of them was in tears. She was so terrified of the house. So, I mean, yeah.
wow.
That kind of makes you want to live there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely on my list for next year, 100% to go there. Where else? For some reason, I really want to go to Madison Seminary, which
I've heard that one's got pretty good activity, though.
yeah, I I know Adam Kimmel owns Fairfield. I've talked with Adam, and he owns Madison too. So yeah, Madison's there, and one more. What would that be? Oh, what would it be? There's so many. Like where? I want to do something out of the country.
Oh, another good one? The Hellfire Caves.
I don't think I'm actually familiar with that.
What? The Hellfire Club? Hellfire Caves? Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't. It sounds like something, but I don't. It's not exactly ringing up.
Benjamin Franklin ended up going into the Hellfire Caves. They used to hold it, so it was like the rich people's underground cult.
Oh God, that sounds cool. What the?
I'm gonna have to brush you up on some history.
Yeah, that one yeah, that one didn't really.
Then there's Poveglia Island in Italy.
I think I have heard of that.
Huh?
I think I have heard of that.
That's the one where the plague wiped out like almost an entire population, and they set the whole island on fire after all of the bodies were piled up onto it. So
Actually,
there's that one.
I think I know where that 5th one would be. The one that I wanted. I want to make one out of the country, just because. But the how do you pronounce it? The Edinburgh Vaults or something. Because it seems to be, they have like a entity there called the Watcher, and I don't know. It just seems like it has a lot of. There used to be a coven there. They used to hold covens.
Oh wow!
So that would probably. I'd like to go there. Place looks straight up spooky. Something different.
What about
like something
that?
Like,
what did Expedition say about that?
Knife you had at Gettysburg. I had a it's right behind me. Actually. I had a knife that had the 2 leaders from the north and the south on it. I brought it to Gettysburg to try to be like, hey, do you recognize these guys? But I didn't get nothing happened.
Oh wow!
Like,
we're gonna try using it for trigger objects.
Yeah.
Now we've got your top 5. What are the 5 that you would never in a million years nobody could pay you to go? What would those?
I don't know if I have any. Nothing yet seems to me that's like red flag. Well, I mean, there's a lot of red flags, like axe murder houses, but nothing has made me hesitant yet.
I was
Maybe
gonna say
maybe that'll
that's
happen.
pretty good because I know a few people that look at places like what's that Lemp Mansion that go, yeah, no, or people think that having a haunted museum is like this really cool thing. And don't get me wrong, it is, but try owning one and then living in it and then tell me how much fun it is after that. That's probably one of the
Yeah.
one places I want to go, but I'm hesitant to go, and that's Zach Baggins' Haunted Museum. And that's because he's got deadly artifacts from like every possible living human being, including the Kevorkian band. Okay. A lot of really dark shit in
Yeah, I would
uh,
definitely check that
his
place
haunted
out.
museum. Huh?
I would definitely check that place out.
I
Maybe I'd
want
be
to
a
check
little
it
on.
out, but I'm still hesitant because they've got like Peggy the doll there, and they've got
It's like you
like the
look at it and it
pictures.
kills you, and you're like, nope, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, pretty much. He's
And
got
you're
the
like, ooh,
Kevorkian band. He's got the guy that used to kill people and make like stuff out of their skin. His cauldron. He was supposedly in a cult. He's got that. He's got the Dibbooks.
God, a lot of
um,
obscure stuff.
yeah, or yeah, the not Dybbuk, the damn box, the Dybbuk box.
Yeah.
And then he's got what you call it, Manson's clothes from prison
I,
in there. you know, Manson's TV.
I'd just be
so
weird to look at in person. You're like, oh my god, like,
right, but it's the things that he has in that museum that I'm kind of hesitant. A lot of them are like serial killer remnants of
yeah, you're
some
like,
dark shit.
it's like I shouldn't be looking at this stuff,
Pretty
but
much.
here we are.
Uh, so I guess my next question is: everybody has their ways of connecting to the other world, especially once you've been introduced to it. We talk about using SB7s, we talk about ovulists, but there are some people out there who have the ability to feel these presences without any of these tools. Have you ever gone into a room or a building that you were investigating and automatically felt that presence? Not just felt it like your hairs raised, but feel it like you could almost see them. It's so strong.
Um,
Hi, Black Dragon.
I
The
I've
real
had
Annabelle
some.
doll is a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah, I've seen, not seen, but I would say I had a strong sensation yet again when I went up into the dungeon in Fairfield, which, funny enough, that's where I saw like one of the most freakiest things. But you could just feel like it just felt like you just were not welcomed. Like, hey, you should not be here. Like,
Right, like just that overwhelming sensation
yeah,
of I
and
really
it
should
felt like
never come in here.
you're
Like
just
I
being
don't
looked at
belong
with
here.
angry eyes from everywhere.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah.
this is weird. What else? I had another. Oh, what was it? Oh, another strange feeling, sensation. I went to the Hinsdale house and we went up to the second floor, went up upstairs, and everyone else was like talking about how they felt like kind of like weirded out, like kind of sad. And then I'm over here and I'm just like, I don't know why, but I feel like I want to burst out in laughter. I had the exact opposite reaction. I didn't laugh. I was like, nah, don't laugh. That's disrespectful. Just go downstairs.
Right, right.
But it
I
was
end up
only up
picking
there. I
something
go
off
down
by
and
laughing
I'm
at
like,
it.
why? Yeah, and I'm like, why did I feel like I wanted to laugh? Like that's never happened. It wasn't like
Oh,
a nervous laugh. I was
yeah.
just like just felt like I was going to start breaking down laughter like the Joker or something.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing not to. Although you may have been feeling what somebody else at that point in time was feeling. Um,
Yeah, it was very strange. I was like, this isn't me even like wanting to laugh. What is happening?
like, why do I want to laugh? Like,
Like
I've
I'm just
been
going to go
in
downstairs.
I've been in places where, I felt like I want to cry for no reason. I felt like the strong presence of somebody that had like walked through me. It almost felt like you were swimming and trying to breathe at the same time. And like almost a drowning feeling. I've also felt like when I've gone into places at like something was sitting on my chest, just that hard to breathe weight. Um,
Yeah.
and those ones, those are I guess I would consider oppressive um, presences, um, more hypnotic in nature. Now, I personally have no problems investigating some of the darker shit in history. In fact, sometimes those are the places that get some of the best hauntings. The
Yeah.
bloodier, the more gory, the more haunting. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. Um,
Hmm.
have you gone to any place besides Gettysburg? Because Gettysburg, obviously, we know has a lot of death
Yeah.
all over. The grounds were saturated.
Oh yeah.
So you can't use Gettysburg.
Use
But
Gettysburg.
have you been to a place where traumatic death was a prevalent reason for the hauntings?
Um,
Waverly's supposedly a really good place. I still haven't
I
gone.
want to go to Waverly. Uh, a lot of the places that I've gone to, Bel Air, Fairfield, they all have had really traumatic things happen, like on the land. Bel Air had to start to kick things off with Bel Air. While being on a ley line, it actually also had an explosion underneath of it that killed 42 miners. So that right there is like pretty horrific. Fairfield has like over 1,000 bodies buried upright still on the property. They never left there, so technically that's a lot of deaths right there in that vicinity too on that plot of land. Um, and those are the places where you feel the most intense anything, whatever the emotion is. It's very intense. Uh, yeah, I would probably say those two.
Really, those are really good examples. And thank
Yeah,
you for not using Gettysburg. um, that's the only problem when you come across paranormal investigations, paranormal groups. They all tend to do some of the same ones. I don't know if you've had that problem, but normally I talk to somebody and I'll get Waverly, which is pretty popular, pretty common. There's the Exorcist House, again another very popular one. The Sanatorium, what's that? In Ohio. I can't think of the darn name of it.
I'm drawing a blank too.
Uh,
I'm drawing
the
a blank too.
Sanatorium
I'm
in
trying to
Ohio.
think.
Uh,
Trying to think. I can't think of it either.
it's like not wanting to form words are not forming. um, but it's the damn sanatorium out there in Ohio. And, you know, I think that's great. It's great. It is. But it's pretty much the same stories. After a while, it's the same stories of the same
Yeah.
place, same room, same experience, yada, yada, yada. So if you had to pick a place that was your favorite, I was actually glad to have a change of pace, and it wasn't Waverly or the Queen Mary, or you know, it was nice to hear a little bit of change of pace. Um, Now I'm going to get on to the last subject, which is usually about my 15-minute subject because it's my last asked question of every show. Ouija boards. Again, not a fan. I am terrified of them. I think that they are doorways for very bad things, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can land yourself in a whole lot of trouble. Have you had any experience with Ouija boards, first off? Second of all, have you had any bad attachments due to an experience with a Ouija board? Yes.
So I've used. Oh, how many times have I used one? It's not a lot because
There's reasons
I've
for
always
that.
just kind of been like, like I'm getting stuff without using that. I'm good. But like I have used it. I used it the first time I used it. Like actually used it, not just been like, oh, here's a Ouija board. Like, was at the Monroe house. We didn't get anything with it. We did use it. We closed it out. I hope, maybe. I'm not the one.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't. I was going with. I was like, hey, or you close it out, obviously, because I don't. I'm just here. I'm just
I was gonna say that's really reassuring.
placing my fingers on the planchette and calling it a day and hoping for the best. We didn't get nothing there, and then this is where we kind of screwed up. But nothing bad happened. But we did it at Hinsdale,
Oh,
the Hinsdale house,
uh
right in
huh.
the living room, and not really anything happened. And then we just like kind of like something did happen that made us kind of not close it.
Mm.
So it stayed open the whole night. And then
Oh
I was like,
no.
wait, we didn't do this. And it was too late at that point. But nothing happened. Um, Now, I do think they work. I've seen honest, good people be like in the same boat. They're like, yeah, no, nothing's happening. Then they go to one place and it's like a
Mhm.
farmhouse. And next thing you know, they're like, wait, what? Are you doing this? Like, ooh, start freaking out because it's
Yeah,
actually starting to move. Like I've seen it work, and
absolutely.
it got freaky afterwards.
Well,
It's never
right.
got freaky
Well,
with me.
anything that has the ability to open a doorway and you don't know where it's going and you don't know what's coming through it, you're opening yourself for a risk, and a
Yeah,
substantial one, spiritually, even physically, depending on what you may have brought through during that session. So if you don't know what you're doing, again, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Don't fuck with Ouija boards if you don't know what you're doing, because you can cause yourself a great deal of pain. We're talking anything from demonic attachments to, lingering effects for years to come where you brought something through, you didn't know what you were doing. I've had several people come to me with stories of I did the big no. And it was like one of the first things that I did as a paranormal investigator. Don't. It's a bad idea. um, but if you had somebody like you had someone with you that knew what they were doing,
yeah,
if you had someone that knows what they're doing, then they're a great tool. Um, but again, you're making yourself vulnerable by using a spirit board, because when you use a spirit board, you actually have to open up spiritually. Hence the name spirit board or Ouija board. Um, Stop, my kid. um, when you open yourself spiritually like that, and you don't know what you're opening up to, something can latch on, and I mean, you could end up with a possession that you didn't intend to have. So that's why I always ask that question, and I generally get one of two answers: I use it, but nothing happened, or I used it, I can't get whatever to happen to stop.
yeah.
you know, so those are usually the two answers I get, but I always ask. Um, and I actually have enough time for one last question. I thought maybe this one would be a little longer. Um, One final question, and again, if you guys have any questions for Hodge, uh, go for it. Um, but this question is: have you had any long-lasting or lingering effects from an investigation, like hitchhikers, the things that like to follow you home and stick around for a few months?
Um, I don't know if it was just because I was so like sleep deprived, or I don't think it's that because it lasted. I wouldn't say months, but it did last like a couple weeks. After Bel Air House, I was just like I didn't seem like myself. I was so just tired for like I had like just fatigue for like 2 weeks,
Oh
and
wow! So like
it was
maybe
just
something like drained you that energy.
yeah. And the thing about Bel Air, I actually cried there at the
Oh,
end. because I was sitting there and I was just holding my hand out, and I don't even know how to describe it, but apparently there's like a little girl upstairs, or like something that claims to be a little girl, and it's actually like Kristen Lee said it's like a demon essentially. And but this whoever it was, I let them close my hand, which sounds weird, but every little like individual like section of each of my fingers was acting on their own. And then
Oh
eventually in
wow.
like almost 45-minute time span, my fist became closed. And then I released it. I got up, I thanked whoever was there for the time and that we were leaving. And as soon as I went to go down the steps, I just started crying.
Oh wow. So
Like
something
every time,
definitely affected you pretty
yeah,
strongly
yeah.
um,
And it was
for
like
that.
I'm not even sad. I'm not even like what why. And it's just like every step I took to get down more, I just started. It just got heavier, and I just cried
Wow.
for like 20 minutes.
I was gonna say, and they say men don't cry. Trust,
Only
they
place to have
do.
done that. Only place to have done that to me. I
Well, and the funny thing is not to make light of it, but you were probably feeling the sadness or the heartbreak of either the mother to the child or the child itself that
yeah.
they think is there. Um, you're probably feeling whatever emotion they were feeling at the time of death or at the time that they realized they were dead. And that's generally a pretty
That's my pretty much what I've summed it up to be. Others have told me that as well. They're like, maybe you felt what they were feeling. Like probably because I wasn't feeling like sad, like I needed to like burst out in
right. It's not
tears.
like I went to an
There I was.
investigation wanting to cry.
Yeah.
Um, but that's another thing too is when you go on an investigation, people think that Ouija boards are the only way to open spiritually, and that's not the truth. Anytime you go into an investigation, whether you intend to or not, you are opening yourself spiritually
Okay.
because you want to experience this, which means you're in the mind of being open with whatever's there to contact with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
sure, Ouija boards are dangerous, but if you want to get technical, so is anything you can do as a paranormal investigator. If you want to really get specific on it, again,
Oh
like I
yeah.
said, you have to have an open mind, and having an open mind means spiritually being opened as well. So,
100%.
um, thank you for being on the show. It was awesome. And Black Dragon says he's been to the Conjuring House as well. And Expedition says Lucky Black Dragon. Um,
Next year.
you guys are an awesome audience. It was nice talking to you guys while we were on the show. Feel free to, of course, jump and watch any episode anytime I am on YouTube. And I will be live again tomorrow, hopefully sounding a little better than I do today. Well, we'll have to see about that anyway. Um, but hi, I would love to have you on the show again at this point. If you're feeling up to it, I'll get you scheduled in for another chat
Oh
later
yeah.
on.
I'm down. I got
Because
stuff coming
I
up too, new
like talking to you.
experiences
You're
and
pretty
all that.
cool too. Huh?
I'm keeping up with the grind, so I'm gonna have hopefully more experiences to tell and all that in the coming future. I got more
Oh, that
places
would be
planned.
pretty awesome. I mean,
Hmm.
it's awesome to have you anyway. I actually enjoyed talking to you. But
Thanks.
we'll get you scheduled in, and everybody else,
Cool.
have a nice night.